Hi everyone, how are you? בוקר טוב לכולם, מה שלומכם? אני מתכבדת לראיין הפעם את בן וויטר, היישר מאנגליה, בכל מה שקשור לחוויית עובד, ואיך אנחנו בעצם משמרים עובדים לאורך זמן, איך הדבר הזה בא לידי ביטוי, מה זה אומר, על מה חשוב להקפיד, כל הדברים האלה ועוד בשידור הבוקר. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Good morning. I'm just trying to get some good Wi-Fi reception from the hotel to give the movement.
Okay, great. So while you're finding a good Wi-Fi connection, I'm going to let the people know what we're going to discuss this morning. I've started already a little bit in Hebrew. I know that you actually have a lot going for you as for the experience of the workers in their workplace and what needs to happen in order for them to be happy, because this nowadays, it actually has a thing that a lot of people are finding a place, and then after 2 years, 3 years, they're switching off to another place, and it happens a lot. So I was telling before we started the interview that what we're going to talk about is actually if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur or someone that wants to know how to keep good employees in your business, you have to listen to this interview. So tell us a little bit about you and what would be the main focus in order to keep a good employee, and what is the experience of the worker is all about, and why is it so important?
Right, well, okay, that's a lot to tackle. I'll try my best.
Yes, I know.
I mean, for me, I've always been naturally curious about how do you create really great workplaces, and how do you retain, not just the best talent, but some really great people, some great human beings. Like, how do you create a workplace for everyone and that works for everyone?
Yes.
So I'm on my employee experience world tour. I've been traveling the world from Shanghai to Sydney to Singapore, Belgium, UK, US, and I'm on my way to Israel very, very soon.
Yes.
Questions, what is a great employee experience? What does it look like? And how do people feel about a great experience when they find it? So that's a bit about me. I'm founder of the World Employee Experience Institute, and we have colleagues working the employee experience agenda all around the world, trying to make great workplaces really come to life in many different ways. So I think for me, what I'm finding out on the tour and from speaking to so many colleagues and from my own practice.
I'm sorry, Ben, but I can't hear you so well. Maybe try to switch to another zone that we can hear you better, because you're...
Okay. Can you hear me? Is it coming through clear?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Okay, good. I'll move closer to the microphone.
Okay, perfect.
So we're finding things with employee experience, but I think the biggest thing is it's got to be defined really, really well from the outset. So you have to really understand what your business is, what your purpose is, and what the vision, mission, and values are for the company. And I think the next step is to design a really compelling, high-value, and integrated experience that connects people to that purpose, to that mission, to that cause. And then the next thing is to deliver it, and you can do that in many different ways, from pre-hire to retire, all the way through the employee experience, bringing moments of meaning to life that really create not just a compelling workplace, but a deeper human connection within the business as well.
Okay, that is perfect. I'm going to recap a little bit what you said, because it's really important. Just let me take a second in order to see that people are connected to us. תגידו לנו בבקשה אם שומעים אותנו טוב, אם אתם יכולים לראות, לשמוע, אם יש לכם שאלות, אז זה הזמן. אתם יכולים לשאול. I'm just trying to see that everyone is online with us and they can hear and see us clearly.
Great. Is that better, by the way?
Yeah, it is better. Thank you for that. I can see that, okay, people are saying that they can hear us well, which is great. So that is a good thing. I just wanted to let people know, because you sent me this amazing PowerPoint that explains a lot about what we're talking about today in this interview. So let me tell them that they can receive it and what they need to do in order to get it. Okay? So
okay, great.
A short second. חברים יקרים, אני רואה את שוש מעוז, רואים ושומעים מצוין, נהדר, אני רואה את ז'וסף, רואים ושומעים מצוין, נהדר, יריב, תודה רבה. אז יש לנו בשבילכם הפתעה, מתנה שהכנו לכם. בן הכין מצגת שלמעשה נותנת הרבה מאוד ערך לגבי חוויית עובד, איך ליצור את הנושא הזה של שימור עובדים טובים, לקוחות, מה בעצם ה-key points, החלקים הרלוונטיים של הדבר הזה. אם אתם רוצים לקבל את זה, בבקשה, כדי שנדע למי לשלוח, פשוט תרשמו אני בעסק, ואנחנו נשלח לכם למסנג'ר ישירות את המצגת של בן, כדי שתוכלו להתרשם, לראות, לקבל את הרעיונות המרכזיים, וזה יישלח אליכם ישירות. כל מה שאתם צריכים לעשות, זה בעצם לרשום אני בעסק, והמצגת של בן בדרך אליכם. אז so I was just telling them about your PowerPoint, and I think this is a really important subject, not only for organizations, but also for business owners and entrepreneurs that want to see how to recruit good staff and keep them with them for a long period of time. So what tip would you have in order for organizations, managers, people, business owners to let the workers, good employees, stay there for longer than 2 or 3 years? This is, I think, the average before turning to another position.
I think for me, it's really about being more thoughtful and considered in the way that you design the workplace as an experience. So take, for example, here. So I'm going to use my environment as an example. So someone's arrived here at this hotel, and they could just get a basic hotel room, and that's the basic hotel experience. But there's been some consideration before. So if you see here,
Ben,
can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah, please talk a little bit closer, maybe to the mic. I think that would make it better.
They've considered the situation, and they've put a happy birthday sign on the door, which is, it doesn't take a lot of effort to do that, but actually it made a bit of a difference to the experience that the people in that room had when they arrived at the hotel. So just a funny example, but that's what organizations around the world are doing on a large scale, which is creating more meaningful and connected moments within the experience. So from when you first join an organization to how you leave an organization, and everything between is up for grabs, really, and being designed in a more considered way, which helps not just to bring to life your vision and your values, but to connect people in a deeper way to the purpose of your business as well, which is a fantastic thing. So whether that's using and deploying new technology to make things more smoother in terms of your employee experience, whether it's working on bringing the values of your organization to life in many different ways through learning and development, through all manner of training, through recruitment, right through the onboarding process, and everything else, really, to connect your staff to the business in a stronger, more compelling way. And then, the workplace as an infrastructure as well. So how you design a physical workplace, the types of chairs you have, is it a healthy workplace is well-being really high on the agenda there. Looking at the physical infrastructure and designing that physical, you know, what you see, what you touch, what you feel experience, to really kind of hone in on these things as well.
This is really important what you're saying, because actually it's looking at the employee and treating him much more than, you know, what it needs to do, but the connection. Do you have a specific, let's say, example that you've tested and you've seen over your experience that makes a huge big difference? What needs to be done? What will the business owner or the entrepreneur or the manager in a big organization need to do in order to keep the good workers and, you know, make them, you know, stay for a long period of time?
Yeah, I think the first thing you do is really commit to delivering a great experience for your staff. And if you commit to doing that, then you will think about things in a very different way. So instead of developing policies and processes, you'll be thinking about the impact they have on the user, so the human, the employee. So you start from a very employee-centered perspective, and then you work back from there, taking into account your business strategy. Now, that's very, very different to what happens in a lot of organizations now. You have a lot of fragmented engagement practices. You have a lot of not very progressive HR policies and procedures, which kind of, yeah, they introduce more bureaucracy, more ways of not getting things done. But the whole question of employee experience is turning that on its head and saying, how do we create more of an experience for our staff? How can we be more human-centered in the way we design things and our initiatives? And how can we integrate and connect them right across the holistic employee experience? So if I was a business owner right now, which I am,
yes,
I'd be thinking about, you know, how do I model my business? How do I become the type of employer that I want to be, that I aspire to be? And that'll allow not just the business to grow, but all of our employees. So that's the way we structure it. So you've got to look at the top team for that. You've got to place employee experience and the customer experience really at the top of the agenda. That could be a seat at the board for someone with a key responsibility around employee experience, or that could be a conversation from a director that says, look, okay, we've talked about the business, we've talked about what we need to talk about, but we also need to talk about the employees who deliver the value to the business and keep the customers coming back. So just putting it on top of the agenda is a great start, and then filtering that through the organization, through everything that you do, is getting some amazing results in practice.
So can you give us examples on what would be, because there are a lot of ways on how to do it, because you're talking a lot about giving the experience, giving the employees and the clients as well, you know, the right attitude and value and keep them a part of. But can you give us specific examples on a way that you found that actually, you know, really makes big impact?
Specific companies or specific approaches?
Something that you've experienced in the you know, no matter what kind of a business or organization, maybe an example that the people that are hearing us right now can take for their business, or maybe a manager in a big corporation can actually start implementing, you know, this specific example in order to create that for the employees.
But you walk straight into the secret of employee experience.
Right straight to the secret. That's right.
You literally have, and I'm talking to some of the most senior colleagues around the world who are working this agenda right now. And the conclusion that everyone's forming is that there is no template. There is no framework. There are things that kind of can help as a guide or a reference point or serve you in terms of information and insights. But actually, the beautiful, and this is what I love about it, the beautiful thing is employee experience is your context driven. So you can look at a Google, you can look at an Airbnb, you can look at a Cisco, you can look at a GE, for example, or anyone else. But realistically, you're not going to get the outcomes that they get because you're not that company. So this is one of my first calls I got on employee experience was in 2015, when one of the big 4 consulting firms called me and said, employee experience, is it a thing? If it isn't, how do we consult on the thing? So huge organizations are still grappling with this. And if anyone's turning up and saying they've got a model for you to use that does this and does that, forget about it, because it is completely built and co-created in your context. Now, people like me can come in and help and guide and facilitate and train on specific elements and the holistic piece. But it's your organization that has to walk the journey with support from vendors and service providers and others. But ultimately, this is beautiful because it's a very much a practitioner-led movement. It's an employee-led movement, and that's why we're all very, very proud of it right now, because it's for us to lead, which engagement was taken off us, and engagement was outsourced dramatically. A lot of HR stuff has been outsourced dramatically, but employee experience is still owned by and started by and led by practitioners. And we'll bring in outside resource expertise when we need it, but it's very much for us to design it with our staff, for our context, and for the long term.
So actually what you're saying, that it's not a specific, let's say, platform that and a magic stick that you use for each and every business, but it really varies from one business, from one organization to the other. And it really depends on the needs and, let's say, the character of the business and the people that work there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some great examples of this. You look across retail, you look across the airline industry, you got lots of people doing the same jobs in the same market, but organizations are getting very, very different results because they're very different organizations and everyone's a very different human. So we talk about personalization. So you can introduce technology that will help personalize the employee experience and make it more meaningful for people when they look back at it. But for all these kind of fragmented, well, let's do this to engage people, we're not working to engage people really, because it's a two-way process. If you sign up to a mission or a purpose, you're there because you are engaged, I think. You want to be there the majority of the time. And if that's not the case, then there's an issue with recruitment or the pre-hire stuff. And that's where you would focus on. So it's about focusing on the specific points.
Sorry, what would be the key questions that, in your opinion, will managers or a business owner should ask themselves, in order to improve that aspect in the business or organization? Okay, so these are some good questions for a business owner to ask themselves. Do I want to be in business long term? And that's the first question. Do I want to lead the market that I'm in? I think that's the second question. And do I want to deliver something beyond profit? Do I want to make a lasting contribution to human society and the environment or the community where we serve? Because I think that's where we're starting from these days. A lot of the organizations that are doing very well out there are very strongly purpose-led. So, everything is about that purpose and that business strategy. But ultimately, whether it's millennials, Generation X, or Zennials, which I've just found out I'm one of, the generation between Generation X and millennials, everyone wants meaning in their life. And it's really a duty of organizations to help facilitate that. And if organizations are not doing that, then employees will vote with their feet. They'll vote with reviews on Glassdoor, on social media, and they'll vote you out of business. That's the game we're in these days. And if you're not ready for that, you're going to get swept away very, very quickly, as most organizations are finding. Even the big ones, even the big giant tankers. Definitely. They're getting hit from all sides because their experience is not living up to the expectations of their staff and the expectations of society. And I think that's troubling for a lot of companies right now. So people are people. We have to remember that everyone wants to feel appreciated. Everyone wants to be meaningful and, take under consideration that he or she are valuable to the organization or the that they are in. And if we as managers or employees or business owners or a manager in a big corporation will actually give them that sense of, you know, worthiness and appreciation, I think that is a big key of that.
Yeah, and it's a starting point, really, because, you know, your thoughts become your words become your actions, and everything else. And then your actions become your habits. I love that quote. And it's very true for business owners, CEOs, middle managers, whoever it may be. Because, again, you could work in an organization that doesn't really put people first, but a great leader, a great middle manager can create this kind of experiential bubble around his team, her team, and it's still an experience and a compelling performance, you know, very profitable experience for everyone. So there is a great role for the experiential leader now, and that's what we're working on at the Institute. So how do you create these experiential leaders that can facilitate this connection at a deeper level? And, you know, forget about employee engagement. It's gone. It's history. What we're now focused on, and the number one measure of a great employee experience, is business results.
Business results. I totally agree 100%, because people are actually measured with, you know, the low bottom line, with the bottom line. What are the results that you're creating? If you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or a manager, this is, you know, something that is common to all of them. And there is actually a way to enjoy the way and see how we can get it done without, you know, killing ourselves. But actually, I want to ask you, this is really interesting in my eye, because we talked before, and I was telling you that you know, I'm writing a book. I'm exploring a lot about the emotional brain and the effect it has on, you know, the results we create in businesses and how it affects our habits. And in a lot of different ways, what is actually the main influence of that aspect? And I would really like to hear your opinion. What do you think that, you know, in the aspect of the emotional brain, how do you experience, you know, the effect that it has on the worker's experience and how it all originates?
Well, it's huge. I mean, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see I've been a vice chairman of a mental health charity in the UK for a number of years. Yeah. And that was dealing with what is a mental health crisis, not just in the UK, but in Europe, around the world. And it's going to get worse before it gets better, I think. And organizations increasingly will be called on by the national governments to do something about it directly, as well as government agenda kind of playing into that. It's a huge issue. And I think if you look at the scale from depression through to kind of euphoria and joy, and that great feeling of success and accomplishment and that you know, living a meaningful life, there's a big scale in between that, and people at kind of very different stages throughout the human experience. So you could have an employee who's been absolutely beautiful in terms of performance for a long time. So 2 years, they've been an excellent employee. But then the 1 year that they kind of fall into the bottom 10% or 20%, and the organizations are trying to kick them out the door because, you know, they weren't fully aware of the crisis they had in their personal life, for example, and maybe they were depressed, maybe they were having a tough time about it. So I think it's very encouraging to see employers now taking this agenda forward within how they design their employee experiences. And sharing and talking about some of these issues in the workplace as well, I think is very, very healthy. But doing something about it, creating a welcoming environment where people belong, they can connect to people, interact with them. There's social spaces for people to come together. There's opportunities for staff to create shared interests and do something that's beyond work and not for work. You know, the opportunity to create voluntary movements. You know, some great organizations that stand their employee experience work, from CSR, from connecting volunteering to the community on projects that matter to the prosperity of everyone, not just employees within a corporate kind of juggernaut, really. So this it's really good.
Really amazing thing, because, you know, as you say, We go through a lot of things, and you may be the most amazing human being out there that has the right skills and is and very talented. And then, you know, I mean, everyone is actually going through things in life, and it can be, you know, a certain crisis, or, you know, whatever it is that people are going through. And the organizations actually need to realize that that a human being, in order to be in his best performance in his career, work, or whatever he needs to do, we need actually to take under consideration to give him the tools in order to cope with things, you know, in his private life and career-wise, in order to assist those people to be, you know, their best, and in each and every single aspect. And this is a big thing. I don't think that a lot of organizations are actually giving you know, the support needed, or, you know, the amount of time in order to do this. And I think this will create a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And people think that the solution is to bring training providers in and run a training workshop on how to cope with stress or anxiety or mental health issues. But this is where employee experience is different, because, you know, workshops are great, but on their own, in isolation, they're not doing too much good. But if you create and work on the experience holistically, in a considered way, and you look at the work environments that you're creating, you'll feel it. The atmosphere, the energy around the place will be different. And if you walk into an employee experience organization, you do feel it, because it's a different experience. You walk into an average employer, or worse, a poor employer, you feel it immediately. Morale is low, people are walking with heavy feet, people are saying not so nice things, it's quite negative, and that it gets to us. Whereas you walk, it affects us massively, absolutely massively, and it's underestimated the effect that it has if you're around negativity all the time. Whether it's, you know, the way it's being led, whether it's the results you're getting, whether it's the way that employees are not considered as part of the solution, things are not co-created, it's just consultation and then get on with it. So this is the difference that a complete focus on the experience will bring you. Because I know myself, walked into so many experiential organizations now, and I've helped and supported and guided some of these directly. It's a completely different ballgame, but it's one that everyone should have access to. It shouldn't be restricted to the ones that can afford to put on a nice experience, because it can bring in resources to cultivate it and technology to harness it and all that kind of stuff. This is why employers is open to everyone. You can do it in a very authentic way.
I think that, you know, as you say, you know, I do a lot of workshops and in-depth procedures in organizations and companies. And I think that, you know, when you give the tools in a certain workshop or a lecture, and then it continues on a regular basis in order to give the tools and keep giving the tools from that specific aspect, let's say the results are skyrocket. It's like, you know, it's a different ballgame, as you say, because people are feeling much more connected to the brand, to the company. They feel like, you know, they care, and then they give a lot more of themselves to the specific brand or organization, and it's amazing. It's great to see. You know?
And it is literally, it's overwhelming because of the response that you get when you do look at that experience. I remember when I started early in my career as a HR officer, and I was a little bit kind of uninspired by some of the things that I saw within the function. You know, the way people were treated, some of the things that weren't happening, and the support that wasn't in place. There was some good stuff, but I don't think it was enough to connect people to the organization. So I took it upon myself to do a voluntary program where I guaranteed to see people for 6 weeks, and we create more of a human experience. And, you know, week 1 had 5 people turn up.
Really?
On a wintry evening. Yeah, 5 people turn up. And I was like, okay, 5 people have bothered to show up, so I'm going to do something nice, put on a great experience. But then, you know, week 5, we had 40 people. And then it went on to 500 people. And then it was winning awards. Exactly. And if you create more experience, good news does travel fast, whether it's through social media, whether it's through your internal employee surveys, your pulse surveys, whatever it is, good news does travel fast. Employees will respect you if organizations do put, and visibly, not just symbolically or empty gestures, if they start to really consider the values on the wall and say, this is what we stand for, and we're not going to tolerate anything less. Yeah, that's where we need to be.
Wow, this is really interesting. I know that you and me, we can go on for hours.
I think we can, yeah.
You know, but actually, I'm going to say one more time in Hebrew for people that want to get your PowerPoint and see, you know, for themselves the aspect and the value that they can actually get from creating that specific environment and expose their employees to a good experience. So if you want that, let me just talk a little bit in Hebrew in order to explain that. What?
I know a little bit. I'll try and keep up. I know a little bit.
Yeah. So, חברים יקרים, אנחנו ככה מגיעים לסופו של הראיון. אם אתם רוצים לקבל מצגת שבן יצר, הכין, עם נקודות מפתח ליצירת חוויית עובד חיובית, אז יש לכם את זה זמין. כל מה שאתם צריכים לעשות זה לרשום אני בעסק, וזה בדרך אליכם. אם אתם רוצים לקבל ספרון לגבי המוח הרגשי והצלחה בעסקים, הקשר לתוצאות בעסקים, אז תציינו גם אני בעסק. אנחנו נחזור אליכם ובאהבה גדולה ניתן לכם. Ben, I want to say thank you so much for your time. And before we conclude this interview, I read that even the royalty family came across one of your projects. Do you want to say, you know, a sentence about that?
That was another great kind of moment, I think.
Yeah.
And it's recognition of what we created and the energy that we created within the experience. Yeah, one of the princes of the British royal family came to visit. I think it's probably one of the first HR projects that has ever received a royal visit. Wow. It's not a usual thing, but it's another indicator of what happens when you really focus on cultivating that experience and create more of an us than a them and us. I think employee experience is beautiful for that. So I practice what I preach. It delivers.
Wow, this is actually something, because it doesn't happen every day that some member of the royalty family comes and, you know, meet your, whatever it is that you and me, we both love what we do. So this is actually a great thing. Thank you for sharing with us. אם יש למישהו שאלה, זה הזמן, אתם מוזמנים לשאול בשידור חי את בן מה שאתם רוצים, וגם אם אתם רואים את זה אחרי השידור החי, ויש לכם שאלה, אתם מוזמנים לשלוח לי, בין אם זה בהודעה בפוסט, בין אם זה בפרטי, ואני אדאג לחזור אליכם עם תשובה. So, Ben, let's wait a little bit just to see if anyone has a question for you.
Okay.
And if it's okay, if I'll get some more questions, you know, later on, I'll make sure that I'll send that to you, and then we'll make sure that people are getting their reply. So
any questions at all on the employee experience, send them through to the Institute. We will turn around every single question with an answer.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for your time.
That's
and
okay.
You're coming to Israel on the 13th of November. We'll meet you there. I have a workshop there as well. So I know that you have a lecture there. So I'm looking forward. I see Shosh saying just a second. Shosh, יש לך שאלה? אם יש שאלה, אנחנו נחכה עוד רגע, ואם לא, אני אדאג לחזור אלייך עם תשובה אחרי השידור, אבל נשמח, את מוזמנת לרשום לנו כאן, ונוודא שאת מקבלת תשובה. Okay, there is a question for you.
Okay.
Do you have tips from experience to keep good employees with, they have difficulties in managing if they have ADHD or, some other things that makes it difficult for them? What do you have to offer those employees, and how to help them, and if they're good at what they're doing, to keep them in the organization?
Yeah, I saw an example recently in the US, which was very touching. I think there was an employee who was coming from a particular background of having a learning disability, but his situation was transformed when he started with this, again, a very human-centered employer. And what they did was play to the person's strengths. So again, there's no point focusing on weaknesses too much. It's about if the person is right for your business, your organization, there's a great connection there, then what can we do to the role? What can we change about the role to make sure we're bringing to life a person's strengths every single day? And, supporting them in any way we can on the disability side or the learning side to help that as well. So I think, again, it's that kind of that 360-degree view of the person to see, what can we put in place to help and support? What changes can we make to the role to make this more fitting for the person and for the organization as well? So you get some great outcomes. Because there's no point someone being in the wrong role, doing the wrong things, and then feeling terrible, because that's not good for anyone.
Okay, so I think, do you have any experience with the ADHD? Because I know that there are a lot of managers out there, a lot of business owners out there that has that in specific, and it's something that we deal with, and it's not easy a lot of time, to get it together. So let's think about one thing in specific for ADHD in order to boost their performance, or for us to give them a specific tool, or,
Yeah, just thinking in terms of...
question.
It is, I think ADHD, it's an interesting label that's come about in the last few years. And, you could say in some circumstances that some of our greatest entrepreneurs have been labeled that when they started in school or in college or in university. And that led to them dropping out to fulfill their own life purpose through creating value to the economy in different ways. So I think it's playing into, what's the talent? How can this person grow over the course of their life? And there could be programs that you can put in place to enable that. Some organizations pay their employees to leave if it's not a great match. Some people can seed fund a startup for them. I don't think there's a specific path you would take. It really just center on the person, the strengths, the talent, their life purpose, what they want to get out of things. And again, a good employer will facilitate that, whether it's within the organization or without the organization. I think sometimes that could be part of the choice that the groups and the partners make.
I'm sorry, Ben, you're breaking up. It's already time to go. Shosh is saying that those often are really talented employees, and they are very challenged in the workplace often. So actually, she's asking if there is any path or way to keep those employees in the organization. So I think that you've answered that with the way that, there is not a specific way or path. It's just seeing the needs of this certain employee and what are the certain difficulties, and then try to assist, in a personal way to each and every one, if they are good for the organization and they have the desire and they are loyal, just to see what do they need in order for us to to give them that it will make it easier for them. Just make sure that they're doing the things that they love and they're doing good, right?
Yeah, I've been in situations where we've had to deal with capability procedures for some employees, and sometimes it comes down to asking basic questions. Some people can find themselves in processes that are designed to manage them out of the business. And I remember walking into one of these as the support officer from the HR perspective after, I think it was about 9 months, and no one asked the basic question: do you want to be doing the job that you want to do? No one asked that simple question. So I asked that, and what the response was? No. So that kind of changes everyone's perspective around, okay, what is the job that you want to do? What is the role that you want to play? And it could say a lot of this kind of creating paths and kind of trying to manage people and get the motivation high. Sometimes it just is about taking a very good decision with the employee, not for them.
Brilliant. Actually, it doesn't come up to mind because we think everything is complex, and we try to think about solutions that are, complex. But usually when we go to the simple things, to the basic things, as you say, just to ask a question: do you do what you love to do? What is exactly would you like to do in your workplace, or do you want to create a change in that way or another? And this actually opens up huge words, and it creates the change that is needed.
Yeah, so, I mean, two people, they skip the start and they focus on getting into the solution and trying to fix things. But actually, sometimes, and again, this is a great thing about employee experience, you have to physically step back and look at the experience you're giving. And whose experience is it? It's not ours. We're not in control of it. It is the employees as well. We can facilitate and do what we can, but it's up to the employee to live their life as well within the context of that.
Unbelievable. So don't think you know everything and try to solve everything for your employee. Just, keep him part of the solution and ask him and talk to him and ask questions in order to come to a solution that will be, that will give the right.
Co-creation is beautiful, and it's everything that we do in all the Employee Experience Institute, that's for sure.
Definitely. Wow. So it took longer than we thought, but again, thank you so much, Ben, for your time, and we will be in touch, and we're more than waiting to welcome you in Israel. So
great. I'm excited to meet colleagues over there.
It's your first time.
First time, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm sure you're going to love it.
I think I will.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. See you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Ben. להתראות לכולכם, תודה רבה שהייתם איתנו. מוזמנים לקבל את המצגת של בן על חוויית עובד, על החשיבות שלו, עם טיפים. אנחנו נתראה בקרוב. ביי ביי.